Hit to start, and the
Okay.
recording has begun.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Nick, I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you very much for coming along.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alex. Okay, so we'll see our first slide pop up in a second. So welcome to this webinar today about lucillin. We are a topical biocide suitable for all birds, reptiles and mammals. And what I'm going to do is just give a little bit of context about what this is, where it sits in the market, kind of animals you can use it on, and also the kind of conditions as well. So we'll run through it, suitable for all levels of learning and education, whether you're new to the product or experienced. So we'll move on to the next slide. And what you can see here, so we've got Lucillin Antiseptic Skincare. This is our animal product. This has been on the market now for 16 years. And this is how you will see it in most pet shops, sold in Pets at Home, Just for Pets, Jollies. But we also have a sister product as well, Lucillin First Response. So this is obviously for the human market. And as we are all aware, certainly as this audience, we've had to go through different routes in order to bring the same solution to market for both types of mammals, our humans and our animals. So you will see it in different bottles at this stage. Onto your right, we are right at the cusp of a brand new release with a new logo and new brand. So I just thought I'd give you a sneak peek there. You'll start to see this come into the retailers and the shops, and that is what the new look Lucillin looks like. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So this slide here just gives you an idea of the kind of common things that you would use lucillin for. These are all canine examples, but lucillin does work for birds, reptiles and mammals. So certainly any kind of broken or sore skin, as you can see there. So we've got the top left-hand picture. We've got sore eyes that have been weeping. Lucillin is an absolutely suitable product to use in and around eyes. So this is the kind of thing that an owner can bathe daily in order to help deal with both the pathogen load around that and also soothe the skin. Then we've got our brachiocephalic breeds in the middle there, and you can see that they can get a little bit sore in those folds of skin. Lucillin again is a brilliant daily cleanser that will deal with points of infection, but will also soothe and act as a preventative for dogs that are prone to stuff like that. Then we move on to paw chewing. So we see a lot of different breeds of dog and certainly other animals as well, suffering from hot spots and flare-ups, allergy-prone skin. They're chewing away at themselves. They're often on a process of trying to work out what's causing these issues. Maybe they're going through allergy testing with the vet. It's giving lots of answers, but what lucillin does is give the owner an immediate and quick topical application that they can turn to when they get that flare up and that irritation, help soothe it for the pet, and then they can continue their investigations to see what might be the root cause of it. We've got the bottom left there, of course, we've got breeds that have quite excessively weepy eyes, and lucillin offers a brilliant daily use just to keep that area nice and clean and hygienic. And then, of course, on the final picture down at the bottom right, this is difficult to dress areas. So maybe it's a ripped dew claw, an animal that won't keep a bandage on. It could be a split tail, a ripped pad. And lucillin works very, very quickly, as we'll find out in the coming slides, that will assist with that to keep it both clean and to aid fast recovery. So if you can't keep it covered, you've got something that you can use safely that's going to get the body well on its way with the recovery from it. Okay, so that just gives you an idea. That's obviously doggy examples. The same goes for our avian friends, reptiles, amphibians, humans as well. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so what is it? This isn't something you need to remember. If you've got a bottle, it does actually say it on the back, but you've got 3 ingredients within lucillin. You've got water and salt that are a mild saline that act as your carrier. And then you've got hypochlorous acid, which is the active ingredient and the thing that we're going to be talking about today. So that is written on the back of the bottle, something that's easy to find should you need the information. Okay, next slide. And where hypochlorous acid comes into play, what makes it so special, This is an example of the skin here. So we have a break in the skin on any bird, reptile or mammal. You'll have pathogens that will try to move into the top of that break in the skin. The body's defenses are down at this point. And then you have a mobilization of the immune system. They will send out send out white blood cells to that area, and the white blood cell will engulf the pathogen, and it will actually secrete hypochlorous acid on command to kill that pathogen. So that's where that natural chemical is produced on command in your own body, and we have a synthetic version of that that's identical, that is in Lucillin, which is the reason that you can use it on all birds, reptiles, mammals, eyes, ears, mouths, all over the body, and you can't have a negative reaction to it. And it makes it especially useful for people who are incredibly sensitive or animals that have lots of allergies, because it's not going to add to a problem that's already there. So this is where it is produced in the immune system, and all you're doing is adding it directly onto a wound to help the body out. Okay, next slide, please. So what you've got here is fluorescing of bacteria, and then we drop one Lucillin drop straight onto the slide, and you will see just how quick this solution works to neutralize it.
So how much is on the slide already? 50 microlitres.
20 of water.
20 of water, and you're adding about 12.
Correct. Well, I'm going to add them in drops.
Okay.
That's it. It's gone.
Just like that?
Yep.
So where it all began, it may seem like this information should have been out there for a long time, and in a way it kind of has. And this system that the body has got, you can accurately sort of date back to around 450 to 500 million years ago. We had that split off of birds, reptiles and mammals, and yet we're all using that same hypochlorous acid molecule to kill pathogens within our system. So it is a fair, a statement to say that this has been in existence in our immune system since around that time. Fast forward obviously millions of years, and then we're into a period of time where we actually discovered this molecule and what it was doing within our systems. So in 1811 we had Sir Humphrey Davy, and then again in 1823 with Michael Faraday. Now, what they had a restriction on, it really was technology. So they were aware of this molecule and its process that it played within the body. But it wasn't until World War I when we actually discovered through electrolysis that we could create hypochlorous acid. And they started to use that within wound care on the front lines for the soldiers in World War I. But we had a limitation, and that was when you cooked up or made your batch of Lucillin, it would only have a shelf life of 5 to 25 hours. So of course it never made it to mass market. It was something that was not able to be produced for home use. So almost 100 years later, we have Lucillin finally. We are actually created through a chemical blend. We have a completely unique solution of hypochlorous acid. And in 2010, we began that journey, and we're now in 30 countries worldwide, all produced in the UK. So that's how it's now come to market. Okay, next slide. So an important differentiation with Lucillin, it is in fact a biocide and not a medicine. So it's suitable for on-skin use with all animals and humans. It isn't a medicine. That means that we've gone through the EN testing route in order to bring this to market. The process of double-blind placebo trials, medical trials, clinical trials, they are out there for hypochlorous acid. You will find them in abundance. There's thousands and thousands all over the internet at many, many different human and animal conditions. You can certainly look them up and you can draw your own comparison if you are in the field of, or you enjoy the research. Lucillin is a 300 part per million solution of hypochlorous acid, and that will give you a really good place to start when you're making comparisons as to other studies out there. So for further reading, there's lots that hypochlorous acid does, and it is really, really interesting stuff. So just remember 300 parts per million for Lucillin. Okay, next slide. So when you have a biocide, you're issued a log reduction number, and this is just part of the EN testing, and it gives you a guidance as to what its pathogen reduction rate was. So you will see there log 1 through to log 7. It's very easy to know which one it is. We'll all be familiar with toilet cleaners, another biocide on the supermarket shelf, and you've seen the adverts on TV where it says, you know, this toilet cleaner kills 99.9% of germs, and it seems like an awful lot. But within the biocide testing, that actually placed it at log 3, which meant that around 1,000 pathogens remained in that actual testing. So you can see there that it's not quite as good as it sounds from a marketing term. Now, 99.9, you've got 3 nines, that's your log 3. Lucillin is a log 7, which is 7 nines, so 99.99999. That is the highest measurable amount, and it meant that 0 bacteria remained in that test. So it is an incredibly powerful biocide, whilst being really gentle to all mammalian, bird, reptile tissue, including eyes and ears and mouths. So whenever you're making a comparison to other products that you may want to use that may be biocides, you would ask what is the log reduction if it is publicized, or if you're speaking to someone, and they'll be able to give you an idea there of where it actually performs. So Lucillin is a log 7, which is the highest measurable amount of pathogen reduction. So you can really trust it to deal with not only sore skin, but also, you know, quite nasty open wounds as well, if necessary. Okay, next slide. So one of the other benefits of Lucillin and its very specific blend is that this log 7, its kill rate is so rapid that you don't actually have the chance for microbial resistance to develop. And if you haven't got the chance for microbial resistance to develop, it gives you a very viable option to reducing the use of topical or oral antibiotics as well. And this is something that I know is at the forefront of just about every industry when it comes to medical and veterinary. And Lucillin gives you an option in order to proceed without antibiotics, depending on the wound. So that log 7 is very, very valuable. Okay, next slide. So another note with hypochlorous acid solutions is you really want to pay attention to the pH. And the pH, the maximum efficacy of your hypochlorous acid, your kill rate there is actually at its best at a pH between 5.5 and 6. And this is what Lucillin tests at. So that pH of 5.5 to 6, also skin pH neutral, and it's also optimum for wound bed healing when you look at studies surrounding the pH of the skin and the wound. So in all those different directions, it's able to help recover much quicker. So you've got that really, really fast kill rate, you've got that skin neutral pH, and you've got that optimum wound bed healing pH as well. And as you can see, if you go in either direction, either to acid or into the alkaline, it starts to actually change and the efficacy actually drops off as well. So that 5.5 to 6 is really, really important. Okay, next slide. So a little bit about Lucillin. You may have a bottle at home. I've got one here. So we just go into a little bit about the solution and how this works. So in terms of the senses of it, the first thing that is important about Lucillin is the smell. So you can just spray a bit on your hand and have a smell. And what you should smell is a really pleasant swimming pool smell. This is exactly what hypochlorous acid smells of once it's denatured. So I've sprayed it on my hands now, it'll kill off some germs. It will denature and that smell will go very, very fast. If your bottle smells of swimming pool, it's still working. So we have a 2-year shelf life on our bottles. If you did leave it out in direct sunlight, even though there's protection in the bottle, you may find that the solution denatures. It would lose its smell. So the most important thing with this solution is that smell. That's what you're looking for. To look at it, it's completely clean and clear. It's not going to stain at all. It doesn't sting when you put it on, and it dries without any residue. In terms of the sound, it's nice and quiet. You can also get a few sprays upside down as well. Brilliant for going up into doggy armpits. And then finally, taste. I am going to do this on a webinar. Completely safe in the mouth, and and it has a pleasant taste as well. So if you do need to use it in and around for dental, or if there's an injury, say you're out on a walk, dog picks up a stick, cuts their mouth, you can absolutely flush it. It's completely safe for them to use. Okay, next slide. So in terms of Lucillin and its ease of use, you have one product here which will do so much across lots of different species. It's the kind of thing that can sit in the first aid box or at home. It can be in the tack room, it can be in your car. And no matter who, be it four-legged or two-legged within the family, has an injury, regardless of whether they need to head to a vet or not, Lucillin's going to be something that you can use to immediately soothe the area, calm it down. It's not going to sting, and it's going to kill those pathogens as well. It's also not going to impact on any further medical or veterinary intervention that may be needed depending on what's happened. You haven't got to dilute it or mix it. It hasn't got any complicated instructions. You can leave it on the body for a certain amount of time. It doesn't matter. You could use it on the hour, every hour for the rest of your animal's life with no ill effects to the animal at all. So with that in mind, it's got a low user error run with it. You just straight out the bottle, spray it onto a wound, make sure you saturate the skin. That's very, very important. It has to contact the germs in order to kill them. And then you have got a very, very, very low risk of any kind of irritation. And for that reason, you haven't got any COSH assessment required as long as you use it under the direction. You don't need PPE either because it's completely skin safe. It's suitable for retail sales, so anyone even with a non-clinical background can sell and advise on Lucillin because it is a biocide and not a medicine. And it's of course safe for frequent use as well. Okay, next slide. So Lucillin is also a really good choice in terms of the planet. It's very green in its presence here. So it's completely biodegradable. Once that hypochlorous acid is used up, either by exposure to UV from sunlight or with its pathogen killing, it will just disappear. And what you're left with is a harmless saline solution. It's completely biodegradable and it's drain safe as well. So if you do have a bottle that denatures, you can pour it down the sink without any restrictions there. So that natural chemistry that's breaking down harmlessly, it doesn't contain any harsh chemicals, it's not got alcohols in it, there's no antibiotics and there's no steroids either. It's completely cruelty free and it's vegan friendly. The whole of the packaging is produced and can be recycled as well. You haven't got any metal parts in there, the solution doesn't like it. And of course it's UK made and bottled on site down in Dorset. So it's a great option. It's entirely insect safe as well. You cannot harm, so we're not harming any of our native wildlife by using it. It's fine if it gets into waterways, and you can safely use it with animals that may have insect prey in their vivariums, like frogs, amphibians, reptiles, and things like that. Okay, next one. So just as a summary here, and we'll take some questions now, and we've got the oracle of all things Lucillin, Alan. So just to summarise, this is safe with all mammals, birds and reptiles, of course humans included, and it's suitable for all topical applications, so that can go into eyeballs, ears, noses, hygiene areas, mouths, absolutely safely on any animal. They're not going to have a negative reaction to it, and the reason for that is it only contains what's already in their body. And then finally, in order to have the maximum success with Lucillin, you need to spray the skin until it's wet. It has to contact the germs in order to kill them. So you need to make sure that's wet. Repeated application will make it work faster. So the more you can spray a wound, the better. Okay, perfect. So that just concludes our introduction to Lucillin. So if anyone has got any questions, Alan will be glad to answer them.
Thank you so much, Nick. That was really, really interesting, actually. And I'm going to start with a few questions myself because I'm really interested in the sort of Lucillin journey, how you got to this point, and also how it works, because I know it's approved for use in animal and humans. Is that right? And that journey there particularly, what are the differences? What are the challenges? What are the similarities? How you've got to where you are today?
It's an interesting journey, but yes, we started off on animals. On the company, actually, this was very animal orientated. We're very much an animal company. We have 3 dogs on the office floor at the moment as we speak, and so that's where we started off with this, and it is a topical antiseptic. That's where we got to look for it. It's topical. So as Nick has pointed out several times, it has to come in contact with the pathogen to kill it. That in the animal world becomes quite a difficult application, because animals are very different in how they present to the world. From basically a Newfoundland dog with a very, very thick coat, or all the way through something like a Chinese crested with no coat, to horses and reptiles. They're all different. And so that sort of presents a challenge in how do you actually get a solution to where it needs to kill the pathogen that may be causing a problem, whether that's a skin irritation or, as Nick has mentioned, or wounds or things like that. So it's got to be something that can get to the problem. Anyway, so that's where we focused on it. But starting in that meant we were looking at working with the VMD, the Veterinary Medicines Directorate, because they are the governing body for animal treatments. But also because we are a biocide and we're classified by the VMD as a biocide, we fit into a set of rules, and it's about how we describe and how we talk about the product, not just what the product does. It's how we talk about it that classifies us. And that being that once we've actually decided that, yes, it's a topical solution, and yes, it's a antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal product, that opens up then how do we apply it to all mammals, including us. Now, that then opens up another discussion, because once you start looking to put substances on people, now you're dealing with HSE. You're not dealing with the VMD anymore. You're dealing with the Health and Safety Executive. And because it's an antiseptic or a topical antiseptic, you're not classified as medicine. Therefore, you're not dealing with the MHRA, but you are still subject to MHRA rules. So you can't make claims about being medicine. So it's a very interesting and fine tightrope that you walk from what you say about the product and how it works and what you do with it. So that sort of gives you a quick overview of how we do it. So it's managing that tightrope of regulatory structures. But going back to why we started, yes, we started 2010. It's something that's fascinated me for a long time, the chemical, because we manufacture it in our bodies. But how do you actually get it from something that, as Nick pointed out in our slides, lasts between 5 and 25 hours? How do you turn that into something that you can actually get to market and get to people for them to be able to benefit from it? So the first thing is you've got to be able to make it at scale, not just a liter of it at a time. And then you've also got to give it it's got to have a shelf life. It's got to have a reasonable shelf life for me to be able to manufacture it, ship it, bottle it, distribute it, get it on the shelves. It's got to have a good shelf life by the person at the time the person actually buys the product and then wants to use it. And they may keep it on the shelf in their home for a certain period of time as well. So that was the biggest challenge that we faced in developing the product, is actually creating a product that's efficacious, does what it needs to do, in all the varying environments, from straight onto bare skin or dealing with a Newfoundland with a very heavy coat, and making it stable and available. And it took a number of years to work that out and get it to a point where we actually could sell a product.
And you did all this in animals first, is that
We
right?
did it all on, yes, we did it all on animals first.
And then when did you decide to start thinking about moving towards the human market?
Basically, I think, to be honest with you, I think the driver at the time was probably COVID. We knew we could kill the virus, but we didn't want to go down the same route as jumping on a bandwagon at COVID. So we didn't. We said that we're not going to do that. What we do is we'll make our product available as basically an on-skin sanitizer, but a safe one that doesn't contain alcohol and other chemicals that can damage you or create other issues. And I think that it wasn't so much that we didn't see it as a major market. It wasn't that. It was actually that a lot of our customers actually came to us, particularly places like grooming parlors and also charities like therapy dogs, where if you're taking a therapy dog into somebody's home and it goes from that home to another home, how are you going to make sure that the dog isn't carrying the pathogen, isn't carrying COVID? And that was a problem we were presented with by the animal owners. And we thought, well, we should be looking at that. We should be having a view on how we can help this situation. And so that was the opening gambit. And having gone down that route, we then had to look, well, okay, we want to go onto the helping humans as well. We want it to be an antiviral sanitizer you can use, which then opened up all the regulatory issues with HSE there.
That you had.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And thank you very much. And I'm just interested in then how you found it moving over into human, after dealing with the animal side, moving over into the human regulatory side. Even though it's not a medicine, it's a biocide, so it's a bit easier, isn't it, basically?
Yes and no. You're dealing with two different organizations that don't really cross over. And it's interesting that you can say something about a product in the human world that you can't say the same thing about it in the animal world, and vice versa. There are words that you can use in the human world that the VMD won't let you use in the animal world.
Really? So it goes in the opposite direction as well?
It goes in the opposite direction too. So it's managing that minefield, if you like, of how you talk about the product in the two different areas. Biocides have a classification program. It's called a PT, or product type. Product type 1 is for use on humans. Product type 3 is for use on veterinarians. And then you have product types all the way up to, I think it's about 14, when they become things like creosote, when you use it on a fence. That's also classified as a biocide. So you've got this massive, great disparate sections of what is a biocide. And we don't fit many, or I don't think we fit at all in most of the classifications, because we are a very effective biocide, but we're also skin friendly. That is a problem, because most regulatory bodies don't look at biocides at being at all skin friendly. Biocides are normally highly toxic chemicals or highly toxic products. We don't fit into that area. So we're having to sort of manage this process by creating almost creating test environments for the authorities to be able to classify us.
Okay, for them to figure out what you are.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly.
And is that why, because that's one of my questions was, is that why you have totally different picture, apart from the marketing, obviously, totally different labels on the bottle? Have you got to have different things on the bottle? Different. It's yeah. Even though it's
Yes,
it's the same product, isn't
yes.
it? And then different.
It's often the
labels.
case, Alex, it's often the case where it's not about the product, it's what you say about the product
Yeah.
on the regulatory front. And the product, the human version, the first response product is exactly the same product as the animal one.
And is it produced under the same conditions?
It comes
bulk?
out of this, it comes out of the same bulk process. It's not actually, there is no difference between the two products.
So it
It's
just gets up
purely
to
that-
the point of what you're allowed to say for animals and what you're allowed to say for humans.
Yes.
And I'm really interested in what is it that you're allowed to say in humans that you're not allowed to say for animals? Can you think of anything? I know it's putting you a bit on the spot.
Yeah, you're putting me a bit on the spot there.
Sorry.
However, it's a terminology issue.
Yeah, yeah.
There are things which the HSE classify as words that can be used for a topical antiseptic in people, but those words may not be allowed to be used by the VMD because of the way they interpret rules.
I see. Is it just essentially because it's two completely different institutions and they've developed their own way of doing stuff and different wordings and different everything and then you're having to navigate between the two.
Pretty
And
much.
there's not that
Pretty
much.
much. Pretty
Not
much,
much.
yes.
So I'm going to open it up to the floor. If anybody has any questions, please put your hand up, put it in the chat, whatever. But while we're waiting to see if anyone does have any questions, I just wanted to ask, what would make things easier for you as a company that's trying to navigate these two different areas? What would make it easier? Basically, have you got any suggestions, ideas, thoughts about for your specific product, how it could have been a bit easier?
I think basically it requires a thought process within governmental regulatory issues to look at things like Lucillin and other products and other solutions which are appropriate for across the board application. We have to understand, I think, and the regulatory people have to understand that we are mammals. There's a lot of similarity in our physiology between us and a dog. I think, as somebody once said, that we actually share 75% of the DNA of our DNA with a chicken. So there's a lot of similarities there, and we should recognize that within product regulatory structures and not try and segregate as much as they do.
Yeah, that's something that we can really get behind as Human Animal Trust, for sure.
I mean, obviously there are differences, and obviously we know that there are certain drugs which you can use on a dog but you can't use on a cat. We know that and we understand that totally, but there are lots of drugs and products and that can be used across the mammal spectrum.
Yeah.
And if we recognize that, and we had a regulatory structure that recognized it and had a commonality across it, that would be a big benefit. And it would help innovation too.
Yeah.
At the moment, we are a little bit stifled by regulatory issues.
That's it.
And really that needs to be sort of tried to open up to allow for innovation and development of products and facilities and processes.
And I can imagine that you're probably aware of, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, about people who maybe have products that could be useful, human versus, in humans, but for animals, or the other way around, but who are put off basically, don't want to try and go through the process essentially because it's just too much effort. Or
it's incredibly difficult, even if we just stuck with the PT3 animal side of things. It's incredibly difficult because we actually, as Nick said, we export now to, I think it's 30 countries. Mostly we deal with a lot of European countries, and we're dealing with the European Biocide Directive, which controls all biocides in Europe. We started that process in December 2018 It's not finished.
Still going. I mean, it's all, it's all good for safety. It's all got to be right, hasn't it, before it
Oh,
goes into
absolutely.
humans and animals.
I've mentioned many times before, we need to have a robust, common, well understood, well implemented, and well policed regulatory structure.
Yeah, policed as well. And
Because
so one more question. If anybody does have any questions, please raise your hand. If you don't want to talk about it in the webinar, that's totally fine. Just give us an email afterwards, or email Lucilin directly, or get in touch in a different way, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer your questions. So one more
Absolutely.
question from me is just in the fact that you're exporting to these different countries, do you have experiences of the different regulatory environments in those different countries, or is it all EU that you're working with at the minute? And is it crazy?
it's completely bonkers. We deal with the American FDA, we deal with Saudi Arabia's FDA, we deal with the Singapore health authorities, we deal with Canada Health, we also deal with the European Biocide. However, the European Biocide, everybody thinks, okay, it's Europe, it's EU. It's not. You choose one authorization. We chose Germany. We went to Germany before Brexit because we thought Germany, it's the biggest economy in Europe, and it's well, they're German. So it's a good job we did. However, what we have found that once you have approval by Germany, you now have to go for mutual recognition in each of the other 26 states. It's not across the board.
Okay.
You don't get a European approval.
Okay.
You
still
get
have to
approval
go
in one
through.
European jurisdiction, and then you have to apply for the mutual recognition in each of the others independently. And they do change, and they are different, and the labels are different, and what you can say about it is different.
And are you going for animal and human in all of those different countries as well?
Yes.
Right? And so you've got 2 different organizations in 30 different countries.
No, actually we don't, which is rather interesting.
Yeah.
Is that in Germany, it's one organization that does both.
We need to be looking at Germany then, basically.
Yeah,
That is interesting.
their organization is called BAVA, BUAVA. And they handle all of the PT applications, whether it's PT1, PT3, PT7, PT11. So now that's one organization that does biocides across the board.
Okay. What about Canada and the US?
Canada, same thing. You actually have Canada Health, and they handle it regardless of whether it's for a human application or a horse.
Okay. Maybe a bit more. I wonder why they're more integrated there.
Some countries are, some countries aren't. In Australia, you have what's known as the Therapeutic Goods Agency, which looks at product from a point of view, is it medicine or is it just therapeutic, like cosmetics? So a cosmetic is handled by at the same time and the same organization as a biocide, but not necessarily a medicine. So each country has its own policies and its own way of doing things.
It's really interesting. I could go on for another half an hour about this.
Well, I've lived with it for 8 years.
You're such an expert. You've got such a wealth of knowledge about it now. I feel like we just need you need to write a book or something.
Well, I've lived with it for 8 years, and I've probably spent enough money to buy quite a nice house.
And you've got all this insider knowledge now. You've got to pass it on. Well, thank you so much for coming along this afternoon, and thank you to everybody else as well for coming along and having a listen. And like I said, get in touch later on if you do have any questions, particularly if you're thinking about marketing a product.
Please, if anybody on the webinar has any particular questions that they don't necessarily want to put up on the webinar, either email Humanimal, Mike or Alex, please, or ourselves,
Yeah.
We're very happy to talk to people. We're one of those companies that actually do answer the phone, and we do respond to emails, and that we pride ourselves that we are available if you want to talk.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much. I'll thank you all, and we'll close the webinar now. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. I'm